Hey folks, welcome to Unqualified, the fantasy football podcast that's been trying to figure out this Area 51 thing since 2017. I'm your producer, Rob Diesendorf, here with Sean Brady and Scott Johnson, two fantasy football rivals that have been sabotaging each other for years, but they decided to come together to help you storm Area 51 and get your aliens. How's it going, fellas?
First off, Rob, great job. That intro hit different right there. For the listeners out there, this is our second take on this introduction. The first one was like the classic first cut of pie and the first pancake in the batch. It was a rambling disaster. So we're gonna spare you.
It wasn't great.
We honestly, in like maybe less than 5 minutes, we talked about like world politics, power dynamics, gender as a concept, and
alien genders.
It was really, really interesting, but definitely not pod worthy. So we're back to redo this, and I just got to say, I don't know where this Area 51 thing started, but I am here for it.
Yeah, I don't know if I am. I think it's a little ridiculous. I'm kind of pissed off that it is like a meme that everyone is just like, yeah, we're in the news. Yeah, like I'm not here for the joke. I want these people to actually assemble and go to Area 51.
That's what I mean. Like, I'm not going to go myself, but if people go to do this, I'm going to watch every second of the content.
Exactly.
I thought we worked out that we
I'm
were
not
all
here
gonna
for
do
the
it.
joke. I'm here for the reality. I want crazy people to go to Area 51 and try to just run in there.
We're not doing
Like,
it.
imagine 100,000 people show up. Like, what's going to happen?
Well,
is the government even going to try to stop them?
First off, if you've seen any movie, and I'm sure Scott can back me up on this, or Stranger Things, or any show where you need to break in somewhere, you need to bring a small team of elite operatives. You can't go with 100,000 people. You have no chance of getting in.
True.
You need to do your proper recon, and then you need to have a plan, and you need a small team to go in stealth. So that's what I think we should think about doing as a podcast. That would be some great content for the UQDs out there. The three of us, and maybe we recruit a couple of ringers and we get in ourselves.
I dig that.
The pod storms Area 51.
The
Yes,
UQDs,
exactly.
UQDs, and us storm it. What would you guys be in like the group? There's always like, like Stranger Things. There's like different people. There's like Steve is the funny comedic relief, and also like he takes all the hits for the team. Dustin's like
I'm the
brains.
risk taker.
You're the risk taker.
The wild card.
You are I feel like you would be.
Yeah,
the wild.
I'm the wild card.
So you're like the one that's like, no, cut the red one.
Yes.
And like,
No, Rob.
I run into the wrong room too early, and then I'm like hiding behind a statue.
Yeah, that's definitely you.
Rob is the one like we're posted up in like we're probably like 100 yards out behind like a mountain, and we're like doing our recon, and we're like, all right, what's the plan? Rob's like, well, we're gonna walk in and we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
We're just gonna get along and not be anxious about it.
We're just gonna wing it.
I'm just not depressed. No, he's the one that's like, we're getting our gear ready. We're like outside, like in bushes, and then all of a sudden we're like, where's Rob? And then it's a cutscene of Rob like on his walkie-talkie, like, shit, I got here too early.
I'm like, I
in there
forgot
by
to wear a
himself.
belt.
Belt.
Oh,
I think
man.
I would-
What about you? What about you, Scott? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I would be like, the guy stirring up the masses. Like, I would be the guy leading the distraction for all the tactical people to like get in there. Although I'm very sneaky, and I think I'm not a good liar, but I'm very sneaky. I could be like a double agent in another life. I'm the guy that's like riling everyone up, like going all aggro, and
You need one of those guys in your team. Yeah. I know I could lie to myself and to the UQDs out there and say one thing, but I am definitely the one that gets caught and interrogated. That's definitely me.
Ooh,
it's just,
you think so?
Yeah, I just have that feeling that like if that was us, like I would be the one that like takes a wrong turn and walks right into like the colonel of Area 51, like the guy, the head honcho, and they strap me to a chair and just bad things happen.
Do you tell them who you work for, or
Yeah.
do you keep taking the hits?
What do you say?
I feel like if it was UQ storming Area 51, I would promote the fuck out of the podcast, and I feel like by the end of it, we might have a couple new listeners, but I feel like
True.
there's also a chance that they, are not too happy about what I'm saying. So,
Speaking of taking hits, let's talk about some football.
Ooh,
Nice. Wow. That transition was so lit.
Rob is in his bag right now.
That was so fire.
Break out all the lingo. My drip is lit. My transition drip.
Anyway, football-wise, we're going to be talking about highlight guys. So each section, we're going to talk about different type groupings of players. We're going to talk about one person per position. So each section, Sean and I are going to have one QB, running back, wide receiver, and tight end that we want to highlight, and we'll give you we'll go over each section shortly.
The point of this pod really is to give you guys some names to keep in mind when your mind is racing on draft day and you can't remember what's going on, who's where, who's left, who's right. You want to just have a foundation of some guys you want to keep in mind in certain spots.
And this is a good exercise for you guys to do on your own too. We're going to give you some examples, but this is really the crunch time of drafts, and the thing that separates the boys from the men is when you have 10 seconds left on the clock and you were just sifting through pages of people and you don't know who to pick, and you're between three guys. This is what you can practice and go back to. Be like, oh no, all right. They talked about the no doubt guys or their breakout guys, and this is mine. And then boom, you hit a home run.
Okay, so let's get into some highlight guys, Scott. This first category is what we like to call the no doubt guys. These are guys that no matter what, if I have this guy on my team, I feel good about where I picked him, how he's going to produce for my team in 2019. And I'm going to start a quarterback with Matt Ryan. I feel like this guy he's a value right now, and he was the second overall quarterback last year behind the transcendent Patrick Mahomes. 2 years ago, he was also the number 2 overall fantasy quarterback. And he's a guy that, while yes, his ceiling is obviously huge, his floor, which we've seen in the last couple of years, is not season killing. So I think Matt Ryan, if I grab him round 8, round 9, I feel great about getting him there because he's going to produce a top-end quarterback, and I don't have to pay the price of Pat Mahomes. So he's my no-doubt guy for quarterback. Who's yours?
I got Andrew Luck. He had an amazing bounce-back year last year after being out all of 2017. 39 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, number 2 quarterback behind Mahomes. And he's not running as much because Frank Reich. What is it?
Frank Reich. Yeah.
Reich. His new head coach, who came from the Philadelphia Eagles, who is a quarterback whisperer, by the way. Carson Wentz's best year was with Frank Reich as his quarterback's coach. At 39 touchdowns, this is the new baseline for Andrew Luck. And again, not rushing as much because he doesn't want, Reich doesn't want Luck to get hurt. But if you look at Luck's stats throughout his career, he's had at least in games that he's played at least 15, in seasons that he's played at least 15 games, he has had at least 23 touchdowns. That's including his rookie year. Yes, he's had double-digit interceptions almost every year except for 1 year, 2013, when he only had 9. But last year he had 0 rushing touchdowns. That should get a couple more, even though he's not rushing as much. He's good for at least 30 touchdowns, maybe 10 to 12 interceptions, but that's good for top 5 fantasy quarterbacks. So I'm taking him all day, round 6, 7, 8.
Ooh! I think I like both of our quarterbacks this year. I'm going to try to get one of those two on my teams. Yeah. My running back is a guy I want to focus on a little bit as well. Alvin Kamara, to me, I almost was kicking myself last year. I only owned him in one team, and I clearly had the opportunity to draft him all over the place. He was kind of the 7th guy off the board last year, and he wound up producing the stud he is. So he's a guy that no matter where I grab him this year, I'm going to be happy. I think you're not out of your mind if you take him first overall. His efficiency is tops in the league, and what I love most about Alvin Kamara is that he doesn't need the ball as much as guys that are going in front of him. He doesn't need the ball as much as Zeke to be just as effective, and with him pairing with Latavius Murray, who's going to be probably, 85-90% of a peak Mark Ingram this year, all it does is help. It's going to give Alvin Kamara, if you want to stick with my math analogy, another 5 to 10% of his production or his touches, and that's just enough for him to not get hurt and plenty for him to continue to produce at a high level. Alvin Kamara is a guy that, when it's all said and done, I'm probably going to own on most of my teams because, to me, he might be the number 1 overall player.
Yeah, I love that Latavius Murray signing. That was a godsend for Kamara. I have David Johnson, and yes, he burned a lot of people in 2017, and even last year because he was taken pretty much round one and didn't, eclipse 1,000 yards. But you think about all the changes he's had this offseason: new head coach, running quarterback that'll probably rely on him a ton, passing out of the backfield. He's had at least 50 catches in the 2 seasons that he started and played in all 16 games, which was 2016 and 18. He had 80 receptions in 2016, career average 11.1 yards per catch, career average of 4.1 yards per carry. So last year was a down year, obviously, but that team was horrible. And obviously they got the first overall pick. Kyler Murray is going to be a godsend for him, and I could see him being a top 5 running back once again in his prime at age 27.
Yeah, he's a guy, and you can get him honestly at a discount this year, which is crazy. But I'm with you on that. No objection so far here, Scott. Not at all.
Like we had really quick, like we talked about last week. We'd rather have David Johnson than Melvin Gordon. This year, and Le'Veon Bell. I'd rather have David Johnson.
100%. I think he might be my 5th overall player, actually. Ahead of a guy I'm about to mention, Devontae Adams, who I love. I think he's a first-round player. He truly ascended last year. He was always, bordering on that wide receiver 1 territory, and he just went nuclear last year, and he's here to stay. He, to me, is my 2nd wide receiver overall behind DeAndre Hopkins, but Devontae Adams is he's foolproof. He's matchup proof. He's offense proof. He's even quarterback proof, which we've seen when Aaron Rodgers has been out of games. So love Devontae Adams. And then my other pass catcher is tight end George Kittle. You know how we feel about George Kittle here, so I don't even need to really toot that horn anymore. But Kittle, love me some Kittle.
Kittles and bits. Great fantasy football name. Pass catchers, I have Michael Thomas, who I believe he has had the most receptions for anyone in NFL history over his first 3 years.
He had like 120 something last year, like
125.
Oh my God.
Which is ridiculous if you think about it. And he even had his lowest yards per catch last year, 11.2. So you think about he's pretty much getting a first down every single catch. But I mean, before that it was 12.0, it was 12.4 the year before in 2016. Never had double-digit touchdowns, but I can't imagine that not happening this year. Maybe it won't, but can't imagine it not happening with Drew Brees. Probably his last year. He's gonna rely on his most trusted target, Michael Thomas, early and often. He has another pretty much second, which I'll talk about in a little bit. One of my highlight guys. Sorry, I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, Jay Cook.
Jared Cook. Yeah, Jay Cook, who the back end of his career, the twilight of his career, he seems to be coming into his own. This is the best tight end that Drew Brees has had in a while, and it's going to detract defenses from Michael Thomas. So I think this guy is primed for a huge season. I could see another at least 100-catch season, 13, 14, 1,500 yards, and maybe double-digit touchdowns as well for like a top 5 campaign. And then Zach Ertz, again, love this guy. I don't need to talk about him too much. Can easily see him eclipsing 1,000 yards again for this season.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Great 90s band. Great 90s band, too. Check them out.
So drip.
Gwen Stefani? Yeah. Hits different. Okay, let's look at some possible league winners here. Our 2019 breakout players. Let's start at quarterback. And we talked a lot about this at the end of last year, actually. We kind of were looking ahead, and these are 2 guys that we specifically mentioned ourselves, so there's no surprise they're here on this list. To me, I think Jimmy Garoppolo can take a huge step forward as long as he stays on the field for the 49ers. We saw that Kyle Shanahan was able to kind of meld a consistent offense out of Nick Mullins starting for the 49ers. So I think a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo can take a huge step forward. The only real question is whether he's going to be just good for the NFL 49ers or if he's also going to be fantasy relevant. I think that's the only question I have because he's going to have a good year. You almost kind of have to when you're in Kyle Shanahan's system and you're halfway decent. So I love that pairing. I think the Niners are actually primed for a big leap this year, and Garoppolo could be a huge fantasy ascender this year. So I love Jimmy Garoppolo as a breakout candidate for quarterbacks in 2019. What about you, Scott? I think we're not going to be very surprised by your choice here.
Baker?
Love it.
You're not surprised by Baker Mayfield?
Not at all.
My man crush? No, as soon as he came into, I think it was week 3 against the Jets, our beloved Jets, or week 4, took over for Tyrod Taylor, who unfortunately got hurt that game. His first completion was electric. He lit that stadium up. His fan base is completely behind him. He had the most, if not the second most, or the most touchdowns for a rookie passer. I think Peyton Manning was first for a while. He had 27 touchdowns last year as a rookie in 13 games. So extrapolate that for a rookie season for 16 games. I mean, 15, like you said last week, for a full fantasy season. It's still ridiculous. I mean, he would have been the, I believe, fifth quarterback in fantasy last year. Something like that. Something ridiculous. So 3,700 yards last year. They just added Odell Beckham. They have David Njoku.
By the way, just added OBJ. No big deal.
Just like put the best, one of the top 2 wide receivers in the country on there. Yeah, why not? Nick Chubb is coming into his own. Kareem Hunt eventually will come back. Good pass catching back. David Njoku, who hopefully his stone hands work a little bit better. Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Antonio Callaway. Like, the list goes on and on. The question is not going to be if he's going to be top 5. It's going to be which of his receivers is the best one this year.
Ooh.
So I think he's primed for a huge breakout. I'm going to try to have him in every single team I can.
Wow. Love that. At running back, this one is one I'm a little bit shakier on, but I think the ceiling here is just so tantalizing. Miles Sanders on the Philadelphia Eagles. Rookie running backs, there's at least a couple every year that like become league-winning guys. It's happened the last 5 years in a row. And here's a guy that I think he's going to be the type of guy that people are going to draft. They're going to get frustrated early in the year with Jordan Howard taking some carries away from him. But come the end of the year, almost a la Nick Chubb, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later, I think Miles Sanders could be a league-winning running back selection for teams, for fantasy teams this year, because the upside, if he becomes an every down player for that offense, is just immense. I love Miles Sanders this year.
Nice. I got Kerryon Johnson on the Lions. I know we don't like the Lions, but this Lions team has always been pass-centric behind Matt Stafford. Last year, that did not work out well for them. And when they gave the ball to Kerryon Johnson, they proved to be a better team. Kind of weird how that works. But if you remember, LeGarrette Blount was on the Lions last year. I think it was week 1 or 2 where he had 10 carries for -8 yards or something like that. Then they finally gave the ball to Kerryon Johnson and he broke off a 40-yard run. They finally figured out they should give him the ball. But 10 games played last year, 7 started, 118 carries, 641 yards for 5.4 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, 32 receptions. Ridiculous stats for what amounted to basically half a season. So you give this guy a full season, full offseason to recover. No more LeGarrette Blount to vulture goal line carries. I think he's primed for a top 20 fantasy campaign this year.
And to me, he's the most fun part of that Lions offense, so I kind of hope he does break out.
1,000%.
Looking forward to a big carry-on breakout in 2019. My wide receiver is a guy I want to focus on a little bit. Mike Williams, big Mike Williams, BMW, out in L.A. with the Chargers. Love this guy's potential. I love Keenan Allen as well. To me, that might be my favorite, my low-key favorite wide receiver duo because they complement each other so well. Mike Williams is just huge, and he's physical. He's a big catch radius, and he's actually sneaky good down the field, too. To me, I think he's primed for a huge breakout with Tyrell Williams exiting the picture there. Love Mike Williams, especially because I think we talked about Melvin Gordon a little bit last week. They're going to lean even more on the pass this year, I think. So, love Mike Williams as a huge breakout candidate. By the end of the season, he could be a rock-solid wide receiver, too, which is not where he's being drafted. So, I think that's a great value right there.
Yeah, I got Curtis Samuel on the Carolina Panthers. So, no more Devin Funchess. They need a de facto number 1 wide receiver. Sure, they drafted, what's his name last year? They drafted in the first round.
Oh, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore. My brain's not working tonight. But DJ Moore, people are expecting him to be the number 1 wide receiver. There's love to go around. Greg Olsen is just not as effective in his point in his career. I think he's coming back this year, but why? I love him, but you gotta hang it up. Cam Newton's shoulder's a little bad, so he's gonna be looking for a safety net, and I think Curtis Samuel could be that guy. I think he could surpass 1,000 yards. He's coming to his 3rd season, and there's a ton of research on wide receivers in their 3rd season surpassing 1,000 yards. We'll give you some examples. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but give you some examples soon.
Love that. And this my breakout tight end is a guy that we texted each other as soon as this move happened in the offseason. I know you're going to talk about him a little bit later, so I'll kind of leave some meat on the bone for you. For me, Jared Cook in New Orleans, just you could not have named a better situation for him to walk into. I don't think there was a single better situation that he could have walked into. He already broke out last year, first off. He was, I think, a top 5 tight end last year. I mean,
number one for a while.
Yeah, and it only gets better in New Orleans. To me, I think he is seriously could join. He could be that 4th guy, obviously on the 4 end instead of the 1 end of the top tight end tier. He could actually enter that tier. That's how great his role could be in this offense. Jared Cook, love him. He's my breakout tight end for 2019.
Yeah, love it. And I got Hunter Henry. To be honest, I don't like any tight ends this year. And last year really sour. Like, it was just sour. Like, put bad taste in your mouth. Hunter Henry, full year off. There was a chance, like, towards the end of last season, we were talking about, like, hey, maybe pick up Hunter Henry, put him in your IR spot because there was a chance he was coming back. He didn't end up coming back, but no Antonio Gates. They just lost Tyrell Williams, so Mike Williams is going to have to fill in that deep threat. They should need some under the in the middle of the field kind of threat here, and that could be Hunter Henry, especially with Melvin Gordon's uncertainty. So I got Hunter Henry as my potential breakout for tight end.
Yeah, and it's not going to take much for a tight end to be a breakout guy this year. We're really talking about a guy potentially scoring 8 or 9 touchdowns, a la Eric Ebron last year. Like, that was a breakout season, even though the numbers seemed unsustainable. So I definitely think he's a big red zone threat, and he definitely could be just one of the premier red zone guys in the entire league. So that's the reason alone for Hunter Henry.
To go back to what I was just saying before about Curtis Samuel and third-year wide receivers, couple guys, I'll just name them, that really broke out in their third year. DeAndre Hopkins, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Nelson Aguilar. So it's behind it. There's science behind it.
Oh, yeah. We're a science-only podcast here.
Only science, pure science.
You imagine we did a science podcast? Okay, let's talk about some late sleepers here. Not the guys that wake up at 1 p.m. We're talking about the guys that you pick late in your draft that make a difference. They may not have to be the league-winning guy, but they're the guy that is a surprise contributor for you this year. And I'm going to start a quarterback with Dak Prescott. He's a guy that I've kind of been keeping an eye on for a couple of years, actually, since he was a rookie, and he had a really strong fantasy year. Dak, to me, is a guy that is sneaky good with his legs. He's not great, but he scores touchdowns with his legs, which is a huge bonus. I think his passing is, I don't know if it's gone up every year. His first year was really out of this world, but it's definitely getting better. It's a contract year for him. To me, Dak is a guy that, especially getting Amari Cooper at the end of last year, had a huge positive impact for him. Dak is a guy that you can get for free, and he could potentially be a starter by the end of the year for you. So Dak, to me, is a good late sleeper to throw a little dart at.
That's the key, is he's free. And it was amazing how well he did his rookie year, and then how everyone soured on him the next year. And he still did really well. You've always been a fan of him, so I agree with that. I would take him as your second quarterback if you have like a Baker Mayfield and you're like not sure how he's going to do. Dak's going to do well, especially in a contract year. I have Sam Darnold.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's just a gut feeling here. I just dig it. Like Le'Veon Bell, he's going to be an outlet for him. Chris Herndon, he's suspended for a couple of games, but once he comes back, he's got Jamison Crowder as a new weapon, Robbie Anderson coming into his own, a new scheme, new offensive fit. Adam Gase is the quarterback guru. I love Darnold this year. I'm going to try to take him with the last pick I have.
To me, this is the Pat Mahomes, Carson Wentz swing for the fences, humongous upside pick of the year, because the potential's there. He plays outside of structure. He plays inside of structure. If the Jets go from below average on offense to above average, they don't have to be spectacular, but if they go from below average to above average, you're looking at Sam Darnold being probably the safest fantasy starter besides Le'Veon Bell on that offense. That he could have top 5 potential when it's all said and done. We haven't seen his ceiling yet. Love Sam Darnold. Kind of pissed I didn't pick him myself. Nice job.
And it could be like a Mitch Trubisky rookie year to second year type leap, or Jared Goff rookie year to second year type leap.
Yep.
When you look at those stats, Jared Goff from rookie year to the next year, and Mitch Trubisky the year after, rookie year to the next year, it's startling how much they improved, but it's very doable. And Sam Darnold, with a couple more touchdowns than interceptions last year, which is pretty good for a rookie, could take that next leap.
And the coaching change is a common denominator for all
Huge.
three of those guys. So we have
Yes.
that ingredient as well. Love that. Let's look at the running backs. And this is another guy that's a kind of a frequent flyer in our mentions. Donta Foreman. We both are not believers in Lamar Miller. We're big believers in that Houston offense in general. So to me, Donta Foreman is going to take this job. He was always kind of playing behind the 8 ball last year, coming off that Achilles injury. So this is the year. I think he steals this job, running away with it. Unless they go outside of the organization to try to find a new running back, Donta Foreman is the guy that's going to take that job, and that's a very valuable role. When you have like a just a guy type in Lamar Miller producing there, Donta Foreman could be a huge mover and shaker this year as a late sleeper. You can get him almost for free too, and that's well worth the price of admission.
I love that. Yeah, he's going to be my 5th or 6th running back in every single draft too. I'm going to try to get him very, very late. Another guy I'm going to try to get really late is Kalen Ballage on the Miami Dolphins. No more Frank Gore. Different coaching change. Brian Flores is the head coach now. Came from the Patriots. You have to think a defensive coach like that is going to want to tear through the ground and pound.
Oh yeah,
Kalen Ballage fits that bill way more than any other running back on that roster right now. They have like the Thunder and Lightning, but Kalen Ballage could have a huge breakout year this year. And the running back came from Alabama. I'm literally blanking on every single name right now.
Kenyon Drake. I was about to say, he is essentially Lamar Miller after Lamar Miller.
Yes.
This is a very similar situation to Houston.
1,000%. Yep. And he's proven they're every single coaching staff that he's had, no one gives him a full workload. They clearly know something that we don't. Everyone's like, oh my God, give him 300 carries. He's not going to last. Kenyon Drake. So Kalen Ballage is the guy.
I'm with you on that. I'm going from Donta to Dante. Dante Pettis is my wide receiver late sleeper. I actually think his price has gone up significantly since we started writing this Google Doc, so he might not be a late sleeper, but he is definitely someone I'm trying to take this year because I think outside of George Kittle, he is the 49ers pass catcher you want. I also really like Deebo Samuel, who you've talked about in the past, but Dante Pettis has a year of production under his belt. I think he produced with Nick Mullins as his quarterback, so he's kind of a do-it-all receiver too. There's a lot to like with Dante Pettis, and as long as the price isn't too high, the upside is there. I mean, there's someone is going to emerge from this 49ers receiving core, and it's just a matter of who.
Yeah, I love that. Originally, I had McCole Hardman, but when the news of Tyreek Hill came out that he's not suspended or probably won't get suspended, that kind of dashed McCole Hardman's breakout potential this year as a late sleeper. So I'm going to put Tyrell Williams. He's not really a sleeper. People know about him, but he's getting drafted so late that he has to be classified as one. So Tyrell Williams is my guy for a late sleeper this year for wide receiver. Derek Carr has a pretty good deep arm. Antonio Brown is going to take single and double coverage all throughout the field. No more Jared Cook. So you have to think Tyrell Williams is going to get a ton of shots down the field. Could see him maybe not double-digit touchdowns, but 1,000 yards. He's done it before. Maybe 6 to 10 touchdowns, 6 to 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, and he's the type of guy I feel like he's going to win you some weeks if he's on your team. He's going to be probably very frustrating when he's not doing that, but I like him a lot. I think I really liked him as a player in Los Angeles, so hopefully clearly John Gruden thinks something of him because they went and picked him up, but to me, he's definitely an interesting name to, and you can get him late. Again, that's the key to all these guys. The price is not too high where it's going to cripple your team. This is post-grocery stick here.
Price is wrong.
All right, let's look at tight end for late sleepers, and it's really rough. There's not a lot of late sleepers, to be honest with you, but, let's be real. George Kittle was one last year, so we're going to try to predict that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but for me, an interesting name is Mark Andrews. I think Lamar Jackson out in Baltimore is going to struggle a little bit throwing the ball, but guys like him love their tight ends. Tyrod Taylor loved his tight ends when he was throwing the ball, and even a guy like Andrew Luck, who used to kind of scramble around a little bit, loves his tight ends. I think Mark Andrews has the skill set to kind of break out in a big way. And again, like we mentioned before, it's not going to take much to get tight end production this year. Mark Andrews could be a sneaky dart throw late, especially if you aren't really sold on your first tight end that you picked.
Yeah, I'm choosing Chris Herndon. He has a suspension, so keep that in mind. Jets just signed Ryan Griffin, the former Texans tight end, as like a stopgap.
Gross.
But he's going to be suspended for a couple games. This seems like a kind of guy that's going to get picked up like week 5 by some people in your league. So why not take him with like one of the last picks that you have? Again, if you're not happy with your first tight end, you have like Delaney Walker, and you're like, I don't love him, but he can get me through 4 weeks, and then Herndon will come back. I like him a lot as a second-year breakout player along with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I kind of like that, picking the older tight end that's clearly going to be healthy for at least the first month, just to offset not having Chris Herndon. You could piece together a low-end tight end one with that strategy, so I like that.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about some bust potential here, and we're going to start a quarterback. I'm going to start with the guy that, first off, we're kind of like shooting against the grain here because these are pretty popular names, but guys that probably aren't going to live up to their draft spot right now. That's what we're looking at here when we talk about busts. To me, Aaron Rodgers, look, he was the first quarterback off the board last year, likely in your league, and he did not perform that way. And it's been a couple of years since he has. To me, he's not worth the price of the caliber
admission
of guy he's going with. You know, he's going probably like a round later than Pat Mahomes, who already is probably going too high. So to me, Aaron Rodgers is not worth it. You might as well just wait 5 or 6 rounds and get someone that might just outproduce him anyway. That's the way to go with quarterbacks. So it sucks that you're not getting the most exciting player maybe, but to me, Aaron Rodgers I think he's going in like round 5 or 6 right now. To me, that's not worth it at all because he's been hurt the last couple of years consistently, and he's getting older, new coach. To me, it's just not worth it. And I don't know how many more times I could say it's not worth it for you to get it through your head, people out there, but don't take Aaron Rodgers early in the draft. Big bust potential there.
Yeah, his best year of note in the last 3 years was 2016, 3 years ago, 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And he's only been, this is going to sound obnoxious, but he's only gotten 40 or more touchdowns twice in his career. You feel like Aaron Rodgers, like he would have gotten a lot more. He doesn't throw interceptions at all. He's had double-digit interceptions twice in his career. That's really like the value add of him, and he rushes a little bit, but he got hurt a lot 2 years ago. Last year, his hamstring was a little like finicky too, so I agree with you. The guy that you mentioned, Pat Mahomes, I'll just very simply say it, and then we can move on. 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns is very, very difficult to sustain year after year. And again, if you took out like 13 of his touchdowns, he still would have been number 1 last year, and then Andrew Luck would have been number 2. You have to figure like give him 35 touchdowns and maybe like 4,000 yards, or like 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards. Great, love it. Not as a 4th or 5th round pick. I'd rather have a really high upside running back or wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of jump the gun on my next category guy too, like you have to pay the fun tax on Pat Mahomes. You have to get him probably 2 rounds minimum. I would say probably 3 rounds too early because he's really fun to watch. And I feel like Baker Mayfield kind of fits that category too.
Yeah,
and
he does.
It's really fun to watch these guys, but at the end of the day, you know what's even more fun? Having a 5th round pick running back that's killing it for you because you went the smart route. So that's kind of how we feel about
otherwise.
And notice both these quarterbacks are big names. That's how it goes. For me, big bust potential at the running back spot with Phillip Lindsay. Look, he was great last year. I don't want to be the guy that doubts him, but I am, and I think Royce Freeman legitimately could cut into that workload even more this year. I also don't think Denver is going to be very good. So Phillip Lindsay, I mean, it doesn't get me. He does not get me excited to go pick him as my RB2. To me, he's more of like a low end RB2 anyway. So I'm kind of staying away.
Yeah, I'll simply go through my running back because we talked about him at length as the pickle guy. Todd Gurley, really hurt, bad knee, bum knee. They just drafted a guy in the 3rd round that they really like, and they wouldn't have drafted him if they didn't believe in him and think that Todd Gurley's maybe bell cow days are over. So really, really struggling to get wrap my head around having him as my second best player. He has all the talent in the world, but injury-wise, it really scares me.
Yeah, one thing to point out, like I can say, like we did a couple weeks ago, that I would take Todd Gurley in the second round. But if you don't want, and I'm not talking to Scott. I'm not telling Scott what to do. He knows what to do. But listeners out there, if you don't feel good about Todd Gurley, there's plenty of guys in the second round that you could feel good about. So just say I'm not going to have him on my team.
Dalvin Cook, any of those guys. I'd almost rather have Joe Mixon or Dalvin Cook than Todd Gurley this year.
Yeah, and it seems crazy. Like a year ago, if you were to say that, you would have been laughed off of the pod, but that's how it goes. And to me, I have two pass catchers that are kind of in that same boat, but a little more outside their prime now. Wide receiver, I have AJ Green, and tight end, I have Jimmy Graham. Household names that are not getting it done anymore. AJ Green, he's just dripping with potential. The drip is real there, but he's always hurt. And Jimmy Graham is just not the same guy. So those are two guys I definitely won't own on any team in 2019.
Yeah, and I got Odell Beckham on the now Browns and Vance McDonald. The only reason I put Vance McDonald is because he's getting drafted as a potential starter. Top 10 tight ends, he's getting drafted as that. He has never played 16 games in his career. He's been hurt every single year. He had a career high of 610 yards last year and a career high of 4 touchdowns. I don't know why he's getting drafted as a starter. I have zero clue why. He shouldn't even be drafted.
Because of the name, Bob Vance, Vance Refrigeration.
Vance Refrigeration, yeah. And then Odell, there's just too many mouths to feed. He barely eclipsed 1,000 yards last year, was hurt the year before. Then the year before that, 2016, 3 years ago now, was his really good. He had a really good year, 10 touchdowns, 1,300 yards, but that was a while ago. He's starting to get. If he has a bad off year this year, people are going to start murmuring hey, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Scott, this is gonna make. I feel like I'm gonna pin you with this question right now. Would you rather have Odell or Tyreek Hill on your team this year?
That's a really, really tough one. I'd rather have Tyreek Hill because he's proven more the past couple of years. Honestly, the past 2 years, and I
think I'm with you.
Yeah, he has Travis Kelce there, and I feel really dirty about having him on my team, like we mentioned last week. But statistically, I think I'd rather have Tyreek Hill.
I'm in 100% agreement. As dirty as it makes you feel, it just makes more sense to me to get a guy like Tyreek Hill. Odell, the injury concern is the biggest thing for me. I don't know if he could stay on the field. Stay healthy, OBJ, please. Okay, let's talk about some guys that are overvalued, and hopefully this kind of changes by draft dates, but I'm kind of wagering they won't. I'm going to start with quarterback. I just mentioned it before, so I won't talk about it too much, but with Baker Mayfield, you have to pay the fun tax. He's getting drafted at his ceiling, which is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, which he very likely will be, but the floor for him is still significantly lower than the guys in that tier. To me, I'd rather take a guy like Matt Ryan 2 rounds later. I'd rather have Deshaun Watson, who is going probably in the same round in most formats. So for me, Baker Mayfield, the fun tax, I'm not willing to pay it.
Fun tax aside, I guess. Cam Newton, we talked about him at length a couple of, I think it was last week on the pod. And the shoulder injury really concerns me, so I'm not taking him. He's getting drafted. I think he's getting drafted around the same as Baker Mayfield this year, actually. And for that reason, I am out. He also lost Devin Funchess for what it's worth, and Greg Olsen is another year older, so I'm good on him. Rushing is going to decrease as well.
Yeah, and that injury concern still, his shoulder is not right. It's not right. And that scares me. He's had so much trouble there. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Let's talk about running backs. This is similar to, I'm not going to say it's similar to Todd Gurley, but the New England Patriots drafted a running back in the 3rd round. So for me, Sony Michel is getting drafted as an RB2, and I don't know if the Patriots plan on using him that much this year. Also, he's got some injury concerns as well. He also I'm kind of growing into this Todd Gurley comparison. He also has significant knee trouble. So Sony Michel, I loved having him last year, but he's not going to be on many of my teams in 2019. His value is, you're drafting him at his ceiling, and I'm not willing to do that when the floor is too low.
I'm actually higher on him this year than you are, sounds like.
Wow.
I didn't like him at all last year, but I was reading an article about how many runs he broke off, like big runs he had at Georgia, because he was kind of like the lightning to Nick Chubb's thunder at Georgia. Yeah, they split carries, but Sony Michel had a propensity to do that. He didn't do that at all last year. So you have to think regression to the mean. He's going to have more of those. Knees, he had a whole full offseason to like recover a little bit. And it feels like Damian Harris is just there to spell him every now and then. Rex Burkhead is not going to be the guy. James White is the pass catching guy. So it is a little logjam, but I don't mind Sony Michel as like my third or fourth running back. Maybe not flex, but like third or fourth. Josh Jacobs is a guy I'm not going to draft. I get it. Like Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, they all had amazing rookie years, but the rookie years that I remember are Melvin Gordon, guys like that, where they just completely fell flat on their face. And he's getting drafted like 35th. Much rather have a Damian Williams, a guy like that over a Josh Jacobs. Marlon Mack, I'd much rather have. I'll pass on Josh Jacobs. It's too much uncertainty with him.
Yeah, he's the classic guy where you have to take a risk on him in like the third or fourth round, and I'm not willing to do that either. Definitely a good pick in rookie drafts, but we're talking about redraft here, people. Come on, get with it.
Right.
My overvalued wide receiver is Antonio Brown. Now, this is going to seem blasphemous. I get it. The guy's a freak of nature. If you've seen his off-season workout videos, he clearly will have. I will have some opposition to that, but to me, like, you're just going from Ben Roethlisberger, who, we're not the biggest fans of, but he's still a very competent quarterback, to Derek Carr, who I have significant questions about. I don't know if Antonio Brown's losing a step. I don't really think he is, but I don't think it matters because I don't think Derek Carr can get him the ball in advantageous spots like Ben did. So to me, I'm not willing to take him in the second round.
I hear you on that. I have Chris Godwin, just for the sheer fact, I like him a lot. I liked him a lot when they got rid of Deshaun Jackson this offseason, when they changed to Bruce Arians, but it's almost like he's getting overhyped now to the point where he's going to be your fifth best player, and it's like, I don't even know if this guy's going to be a good NFL player. Exactly. I don't know if he's a deep threat. There's way too many unknowns, so I'm not going to take him. I would have, because he should be going in like round 10 because he's so unknown, but fantasy football hypes up a lot of guys, and 5th, 6th round, no.
Yeah, that's a function of like fantasy in general getting too smart these days. Like there's too many people that are keyed
analytics,
and it's almost like the writing's on the wall that he will be good, but again, there's still the risk that he's not,
right?
Because he hasn't done it before. To me, there's a lot of tight ends that are going to be overvalued just based on the position, and to me, Eric Ebron, an obvious regression candidate, and regression in the true sense of coming back down to earth. Jack Doyle was hurt for almost the entire year last year, which opened the door for him. I think he will clearly have many 2-touchdown games. He'll probably have 3 of them and drive you nuts. But it's like playing whack-a-mole. You can't do that. You want to get a tight end that's going to catch a lot of balls, get some consistent yardage, and you're going to have to draft him like he is going to produce top 4 numbers. And I'm not willing to do that. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I'd much rather get Jared Cook, who we've talked about and we will continue to talk about. I'd even rather have the guy you're going to say in a second, O.J. Howard. To me, Eric Ebron is obviously coming back down to earth. Prove me wrong. What do you think?
I agree. Two touchdown dependent. O.J. Howard, again, this is the same thing as Chris Godwin. I kind of put them together for a reason. Again, fantasy football is too smart, hurts own good. Yeah, he had a great year last year, but he was hurt a lot. I don't think Cameron Braid is an issue at all, but Bruce Arians, we get it. He's going to throw a lot, but Bruce Arians hasn't coached in a couple years. Jameis Winston, we don't know how well he's going to mesh with Bruce Arians. Running game, they have 3 running backs there. Like, maybe they're going to run it more. I don't know. Bruce Arians is a couple years older. Like, he could just run it more now. We have no idea. And O.J. Howard, like, I'm not going to put a 7th round pick or an 8th round pick on a tight end that, he's good, but like, it just feels like he should be a 6th or 7th round pick next year after he does really well and proves us right this year. You know what I mean? Like, he should be in round 10 also. I would love him there, but he's way too overvalued.
What's hilarious is that we're picking overvalued, and this is like tight end 4 and tight end 5 going on draft boards right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Serious question for you, Scott. Should we replace tight end with fullback for fantasy football?
Well, fullbacks are technically running backs. Like, they got Kyle Juszczyk on the Niners is pretty good. Remember that guy John Connor on the Jets back in the day, the Terminator?
Yeah,
he wasn't like a good pass catcher, but
essentially, like, think about it. There's probably almost as many like star fullbacks as star tight ends. Like Juszczyk, John
Tony
Kuhn.
Richardson back in the day.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
John Kuhn.
Like, how fun would that be? Well, it's probably not a good idea, but still, I feel like...
I think we should be a tight end / fullback.
Oh,
slot.
yes. Absolutely.
Whatever you want. You know?
Let's make it happen. Like let's call the fantasy commissioner and make that happen.
Make it happen, NFL. Come on, Goodell.
Okay, last segment of the day, undervalued, and I'm going to start with quarterback. This is a guy that I had a very love-hate relationship with last year, so it is a little weird talking about him now, but Kirk Cousins is undervalued, just straight up. He's almost not getting drafted.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting drafted as like the 15th quarterback off the board.
How's that possible?
The guy was top 5 or top 7 for the majority of last year. I would have to go look at the numbers, but most of the fantasy regular season. He trailed off a little bit post John DeFilippo firing, but he still is throwing the ball to Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Dalvin Cook is a very capable receiver. Kirk Cousins is just as a function of the offense itself, well worth the price as your second quarterback, and he could be a low-end QB1 if you picked him as your first. So for me, I don't understand the narrative around him. I understand he's a little frustrating in real life, but Kirk Cousins, I feel like this is like the 5th year in a row we're talking about Kirk Cousins as a super value in fantasy football.
Yeah, he's had over 4,000 yards in the last 4 years. That's why, and at least 25 touchdowns. He had the most touchdowns in his career last year.
Yeah.
So why is he not getting drafted? I do not understand it. It's crazy. Like, again, fantasy football getting too smart. It's like, well, he's definitely going to regress. Like, all right, sure, he might regress, but 30 touchdowns, 4,300 yards last year.
Yeah, what's he going to regress to? His mean is 4,000 yards and 25 touchdowns. That's a solid year.
So you're getting 4,000 yards and 27 touchdowns. Okay, that's top 10.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm in.
Thanks. I'll take it. Top 10. I don't have to draft it at all. Like, I'm not going to take Mahomes. I'd rather take Cousins. In no round. It's crazy. Carson Wentz is another guy that's getting drafted so late.
Oh, yeah.
He was an MVP candidate 2 years ago before he went down with injury. He was on pace for, I don't even know what he was on pace for because he played like 14 games, but I mean, he had like 38 touchdowns or something like ridiculous, and I don't see why that wouldn't happen again this year with a new contract, with more weapons, with a better running game.
This is my
crazy
guy.
to me. He had 33 touchdowns in 13 games 2 years ago.
This is my guy. I'm going to have him on. I think I'm going to have him on every team. His price it makes no sense this year. First off,
no.
I understand people like this is what I feel like. People take a look at him and they say, "Oh, he's missed games the last 2 years," but he's had freak injuries. It's not like he's injury prone.
Yeah.
He's just been unlucky. The same thing happened to Keenan Allen at the beginning of his career. So that's one thing. Secondly, like they're going to look at him and say, "Oh, he was like 21. He's the 21st ranked quarterback last year." But on a per game basis, he was like easily. I think he might have been top 5. It's just a matter of him missing a bunch of games. And Nick Foles looks great when he comes in, but Carson Wentz, I will own him because his price tag makes no sense. He's like a 10th round pick right now, and to me, he's like the 3rd quarterback overall for me.
Yeah, exactly. His rating was 102.2 last year. It was the best in his career in his 3 years. So yeah, he didn't do as well last year, but he was a better NFL quarterback last year.
Yeah.
And their win-loss was 5. They were 5-6 last year. They were 11-2 with him the year before. I'm sorry, the defense was much worse last year. They didn't have a cornerback to save their lives. No running game to speak of. Give me a break. Now they have all those things.
I'm so fired up right now. I think I'm going to have Carson Wentz and Kirk Cousins on like every single team that I have.
Honestly, that would be a great combo of quarterbacks. Those two, and you could get them at the most insane price tag. Doesn't make any sense.
All right, let's take a running back. This is another guy that I probably will own on every single team. Maybe not every single team because you have to be in a certain spot, but Nick Chubb. This guy's not a 3rd-round pick, people. Sorry.
Nope.
I think I'd rather have Nick Chubb than Antonio Brown. I might even rather have him than Odell. Like, this guy is so effing good at football, and look, people are going to get scared. His price tag is depressed right now because of the whole Kareem Hunt thing. That's great. I'll take him in round 3. I'll run to the bank. He'll be my RB2 behind like a stud RB1. Thank you very much.
I think a lot of people are like freaking out because they're like, well, if he does really well in the first 9 weeks or 8 weeks, like maybe I could sell him high. But then like people will know because I have Kareem Hunt. It's like, all right, well, Kareem Hunt is probably going to like suck for the first couple of weeks when he's back.
Yeah.
when he gets back. We talked about this on the pickle guys. Like Nick Chubb had 950 yards or something in I don't know, 7 games or 8 games last year.
Something like that. But I'm going to say Nick Chubb this year coming up is James Conner, but with more talent. Like James Conner last year, that's what Nick Chubb will be this year. He's going to be in a high-octane offense. Baker, as we talked about, is going to take a leap, and Nick Chubb is just going to punch the ball in from 2 yards out over and over. It's going to be amazing. Sign me up.
I have 2 guys as severely undervalued for running back, Chris Carson and Mark Ingram.
Ooh, yeah.
For the life of me, this section is really getting me fired up, but Chris Carson, he had the 3rd most rushing yards last year for running backs, 1,151, 247 attempts, that's it. They just got rid of Mike Davis, who had, I think, 120 carries. Yeah, they have Rashad Penny, but he couldn't even stay on the field. He was out of shape. He had, I think he broke his hand last year. Chris Carson, like, by all accounts, he was a top 10 running back last year, and he's getting drafted in, like, round 6. Like, okay, I'll take him.
Yep.
He could be my 2nd best running back. That's totally fine with me. And I'll stack up with 3 wide receivers and a stud running back and call it a day. And then wait on quarterback and get Kirk Cousins and Carson Wentz. It's insane.
Can we draft like next week? Oh man, I need this team. I would say people are
jazzed up.
I think the reason his price tag is depressed is that it's very similar to Nick Chubb. It's the people are anticipating Rashad Penny breaking out.
Regression.
Is Rashad Penny any good? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think the Seahawks think so either.
You should look at like a Wikipedia list or like a Google list of running backs drafted in the actual NFL draft 1st round that have fizzled out, and it's probably an insane amount.
Yeah,
1st, 2nd, 3rd round. Like Javid Best, you got a lot of injuries. I couldn't even. What's the guy's name?
Trent Richardson.
Trent Richardson, 3rd overall. The guy David something on the Giants. I don't know what his name is.
Oh, David Wilson.
31st overall. David Wilson.
Yep.
There you go. Lasted like a year. Ronald Jones last year, 2nd round. Didn't do anything. Like Rashad Penny, nothing against him, but take Chris Carson. And the other guy, really quick before we move on, Mark Ingram. Only 645 yards last year, 21 catches. I get it. The past 2 years before that has had over 1,000 yards and at least 46 catches. I feel like now I think it's okay to say he's going to have 1,000 yards and 50 catches from Lamar Jackson. As the guy.
I mean, look, it's just pure math. The defense has to worry about Lamar Jackson running the ball. That's one less guy focused on Mark Ingram running the ball. This is almost like a LaShawn McCoy with Tyrod Taylor situation to me. I think Mark Ingram he's going to have a career year this year. Don't forget, he was an RB1 2 years ago with Alvin Kamara in the backfield. More than capable. Love those choices. I'm so fired up right now. This is incredible. I feel like we took the whole podcast to get me to this peak performance here. Wide receiver, Will Fuller, Calvin Ridley. I can't pick between them.
Nice.
They're both very undervalued. If Will Fuller stays healthy, which is obviously a big if for those of you out there that are going to bemoan that choice, this guy's unreal when he's on the field. Like, he is a wide receiver 1 when he plays. Now, the caveat is that he's played less than 8 or 10 games in every single year of his career. But to me, it's almost worth it. If you just assume that he's going to miss some games and while he's healthy, you plug him in. That's it. I mean, and then Ridley is going to just be unreal next to Julio this year. We've talked about him in the past couple of pods, so I won't talk about that too much. But I think those are 2 guys you can get at a very low price. Those are flex starters for you every week.
Yeah, Mike Williams, you talked about it a lot. No more Tyrell Williams. The target share is wide open. I think we don't have to talk about him anymore, but he's my undervalued guy. Yeah, like getting around 7-8, like it's kind of early, but I still think he's going to be a top like 15 wide receiver. So
love that. He's got like Des Bryant to me. Like his game is Des Bryant.
Yeah, not overly fast, but like physical. The line of scrimmage, and he bodies people out of the way.
I would not want to
red
cover
zone.
Him.
That's such a good. He is Des Bryant.
Hopefully, he's a better person than Des Bryant too. He seems like he is, which is good. I would not want to cover Mike Williams. My tight end is. I just had to put somebody here. I feel like Trey Burton. Like I didn't own him last year, so maybe someone that did could give me a little bit more insight. But he's a low end starter, and you don't have to pay a huge price tag for him like you do with some other low end starters. So I guess Trey Burton, he gets like a half shrug. Like he's good. He's a nice player and good offense. That's about it.
569 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. He's okay. He's good.
It's repeatable. I'll take it.
Maybe take him in like a Chris Herndon or like a Mark Andrews, right?
Yeah.
Or even him with like a Delaney Walker if you don't like Delaney Walker or you don't know how he's going to do. I have Jared Cook. We talked about him already.
Oh,
second target machine now behind Michael Thomas. Drew Brees looks early and often for the tight end. I couldn't be more stoked about Jared Cook. And
what a turnaround! What a turnaround for Jay Cook. Like he was like on our shit list forever.
Good on you. Yeah, he really was. I remember like our first year when we were talking about the Rams, like when they were St. Louis Rams before they went to LA, or maybe it was the first year. It was like Goff's first season. We were like Jared Cook, like sure, take him, nerds. And then he didn't do all that year. We were right about that. But then all of a sudden last year, 896 yards, 6 touchdowns.
I would say like it's almost like tight ends take longer to season before they're like good NFL players. So
seasoning.
You can kind of take a look at some other guys that are in maybe a similar boat. That's why we talked earlier about Mark Andrews and maybe even some of those rookies from last year start to break the surface, but it's a tough position out there. It's the Wild West tight end. There's huge gaps in it's basically a drought right now. We need someone to emerge. And Jay Cook is that guy.
You look at Greg Olsen and Delaney Walker in their careers, they emerged much later in their careers, like Jared Cook. All right, that does it for our Highlight Guys episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We talked about No Doubt guys, breakouts, late sleepers, some busts, overvalued, undervalued. We had some fun with it. We talked about Area 51. Talked about what kind of guys we would be in the group of people that would storm Area 51.
For Colonel Sanders, who interrogated me in the basement of Area 51, I will never tell you my best sleeper choice for 2019, but the UQDs get to hear.
Take a hike.
You guys got that free intel.
Take a hike, dude.
I'm bringing my alien to Taco Bell.
What's your alien's name? Rufus, you said?
Rufus.
Oh, that was in the other thrown away intro. What would Rufus's order be in Taco Bell?
He'd be a chalupa. Got to get a Crunchwrap Supreme. That's a classic. And then probably like absolutely getting Baja Blast, and then like you getting the cinnamon twist things that they have. Ooh. And probably a beefy 5-layer burrito. I would probably tell him to get loaded grillers.
Are you just saying your order?
Might just get. I might just get. We might just order the whole menu. I don't know how much he eats.
I was gonna say you're gonna stuff Rufus to capacity if you give him all that.
Who knows? He might just vaporize it.
Oh, true.
He might vape Taco Bell.
Classic Rufus.
Vape niche.
Live Mas. I just quiero.
So Area 51, we're coming for you. We're coming for you.
Well,
see you later. Get ready or get it out.